Viruses, what function do they serve? They serve a lot of functions. Right now in your body, you probably have millions of different viruses. They estimate you have 5 in your eyes alone. Why they're there, well, we don't know. We only know when it causes a problem. There's no reason to do research on something if it doesn't cause a problem. So to do research, when we go from door to door, we say, well, I'm researching the hantavirus. People say, well, what does that do? I said, well, we don't know. Does it cause disease? Probably not. Well, why should I give you money to research a virus which doesn't cause disease? I'd rather give money to my Cancer Society or the American Heart Association that focuses on dealing with diseases. So bacteria doubled about every 10 to 20 minutes. And the king example of this was, probably it's not true, but anyways, it's a well-known example. Somebody in the kingdom did something really good. And so the king said, your wish will be granted. What is your wish? So he said, well, bring me a plate with 1 grain day 1, 2 grains on day 2, 4 grains on day 3, 8 on grain 4, and 16, 32, 64, 128 for a whole year. And the king said, your wish shall be granted. Such a humble request. Well, he bankrupted the kingdom with grain. He ended up owing all the grain in the whole kingdom. And they couldn't fulfill that request because when you double every day, in this case, you end up with a huge number. And when you study math, you can see that. And if bacteria and viruses, well, if bacteria were allowed to consume all organic material on the earth, the growth would be 10 to 110th power, which is basically 10 to the 80th is considered impossible. So that would be an enormous number. And reservoirs, there are reservoirs for HIV, for example. The reservoir is monkeys. HIV in monkeys causes no problem. No problem at all. It's when it transferred from monkeys to humans that it causes a problem. And the flu is a good example. Flu in swine or ducks, no problem. But when it transfers to people, big problem. And Carl Baugh now has a flu which probably started from swine or ducks in China, and that's why they call it the swine flu, because it's from swine, or sometimes they call it the Chinese strain of influenza. And it lives in ducks and it mutates. And then because in China they keep ducks in many places in their houses. It's kind of a pet. And so it transfers from the duck to people and then spreads throughout the world. And then we end up with a flu epidemic, as we can see around. Ebola, same thing. From bats, no problem. They're pretty sure, they're not totally sure, but pretty sure the home for Ebola is bats. That's their host organism. There's only a problem when it goes from bats to people. And there you can see a picture of bacteria. And that's what we studied at the medical school. And when I taught bacteriology, of course, we studied that. We didn't get such as good pictures as these. These were colorized, by the way. The colors are not natural. You don't get a nice, pretty color. And there you can see also colorized. And you can see these are Staphylococcus aureus, which are now right on your skin. You're loaded with Staphylococcus aureus. When you get a cut, they end up inside your body. And so then we're talking about a bacteria that goes from where it should be to where it shouldn't be. And that's what causes the problem. So that's a major problem when appendix bursts. It goes from where it should be in the appendix into the peritoneum where it shouldn't be and can kill you. So that's a problem. Probiotic use, it controls Candida yeast infection, and we can use this to manage digest health, reduce food poisoning, control nail fungus, etc. So there you can see the Candida albicans. And there, that's when the microscopes we had at the college where I taught for a while, that's what we would see with a microscope. Now that's stained, otherwise you wouldn't see them. So we stained them so you could see them. And we only had $10,000 microscopes. At the medical school we had the $100,000 microscopes, and you could get a lot better pictures of the viruses, in this case the bacteria. Sources: yogurt, sauerkraut, apple cider vinegar, Greek yogurt from cow, goat, or sheep milk. And Staphylococcus is, of course, a good example. There is for women who get who get infections of their excretory tract. I'm trying to describe the whole thing. And the solution is to drink what? Cranberry juice. Cranberry juice. And what cranberry juice does is these get stuck in the tract because the tract isn't lubricated like it should be. And so the cranberry juice lubricates the tract, and then the bacteria can't stick onto the tract, and therefore they're excreted. And that's how it works. Okay? And that's a problem for women especially, less of a problem for men, but it's more of a problem for women when the tract is not lubricated like it should be. And so some women have no problem with, they call them women problems, I guess, but when my granddaughters had the problem, they would just say, well, it's a women's problem. And I figured that probably was infection there. And they probably, and some would get this commonly and some would rarely get it. And so the difference is the lubrication of the tract, of the excretory tract, from, I assume, the bladder all the way through. Virus causes diseases. There's lots of them: polio, hemorrhagic fever, diarrheal disease, smallpox, flu, HIV, Ebola, hepatitis A, etc. And smallpox, unprecedented global vaccination campaign ended the problem by about 1980. So there were no cases known after 1980. So thanks to the virus was eliminated by, in this case, vaccination. And you can see smallpox because it causes small poxes. And poxes would be the protrusions from the skin. And that was often lethal. And Ebola virus, there's an outbreak which spread very rapidly through a large population. And Ebola is interesting because it either kills you in 5-6 days, or you survive, and you survive because you're immune. And immunity now is achieved by vaccination. So hopefully they'll wipe out the Ebola virus, which is horrible to get. And there you can see the influenza virus, about 50 million deaths. We used to say 20 million. When I was in school, we learned 20 million. And then we realized we forgot to count a lot of countries. And when we counted countries throughout the world, we're closer now to 50 million deaths. And there you can see a influenza beds. Polio, same thing, which is awful to get. Now it's largely in this country eliminated because of vaccines. And polio vaccination, these are the two doctors that worked on that, so we honor them. Albert Sabins and Jonas Salk were both honored with postage stamps because they were the two that came up with this vaccination. And Salk, I think, came up with the live virus, and Sabins the dead virus. So there you go. These are postage stamps. In 1960, we immunized about everybody. In 1980, WHO says about 350,000 die a year today in unvaccinated areas. And we tried to vaccinate, the American government's goal is to vaccinate everybody in the world. And the certain countries like Pakistan will not let us vaccinate everybody because they think we're going to have something harmful in there and we're going to kill people. So they don't trust us. So